But we have got an exciting session lined up, the one that will make you rethink everything you know about auditing. Now we are diving into the world of NAVAYUGA Auditor, a session that's all about changing the landscape of internal audit, management audit, and leveraging the new age tech tools in auditing.
And to guide us through this fascinating topic, ladies and gentlemen, join your hands for CA.Naveen SN. We request our treasurer of CASA Bengaluru, Dhruva, to escort Mr. Naveen on stage, please. We also request the paper presenters to come and occupy the seats.
We request treasurer of CASA Bengaluru, Dhruva, to present a live planter to CA.Naveen for gracing us with their presence today.
Guys, can we have a huge round of applause? We request Dhruva to hand over the plans to our paper presenter also. Thank you, Harshita. Thank you, Dhruva. Guys, can we have a huge round of applause, please? Come on.
We have someone who is not just an expert auditor, but also a star speaker, mentor, and a certified internal auditor. CA.Naveen is a partner at MSNA Associates LLP and has a stellar career in audit, assurance, and financial advisory. And as a speaker, his accolades includes panel discussion, guest lectures, and even a best award from ASA and Associates.
He is a proof that auditing isn't just about numbers. It's about creativity, it's about strategy and making the real impact. Let's give a huge round of applause for CA.Naveen, the architect of modern auditing.
So the stage is all yours now.
Hello everyone. Where's the Josh from the previous session? Hello everyone, can I get a bigger hello? So just a few years back, maybe 10 years back, I was sitting there, one amongst you, there in the same auditorium for the CASA conference. I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity to be in front of you and then chair this session. There's a huge responsibility now from the previous speaker. He has given a lot of, he has made this session so exciting and then enthusiastic that now we have a bigger responsibility, guys. So, but yeah, as auditors, day in and day out, our work is to take challenges, right? So let's do it. So I'll start this session with two questions. Very honest answers is what I want because we don't have time. So the first thing is, how many of you here genuinely love audits, doing audits? 40, 45%? Now comes the important question. How many of you absolutely hate audits? Like it's a theory subject, very boring. I should just clear this subject to become a chartered accountant. Come on guys, where are the rest 30%? Okay. So now the responsibility is on us to, even if we can change this perception a bit, that audit can be interesting, audit can be insightful, audit can be great, I think our purpose is met. And we, by the end of it, this is what we are aiming for. So now, let me ask you another question. For this, I would definitely want responses. The topic is NAVAYUGA auditors, right? That is the next-gen auditors. Now, with the advent of AI, machine learning, all the technology tools coming in, do you think auditors are required in the next 10 years? What if I run out of my career options in the next 10 years? Can I have who wants to answer this? Like, do you really think auditors will exist in the next 10 years? System can do a lot of job, right? Or why do we need auditors? Who wants to go? Why do we need auditors in the next 10 years? System is doing it. Okay. Why do we need auditors in the next 10 years? What if I and you, after you guys clearing and you choose, I want to go into statutory audit, and suddenly there is a hiring freeze for auditors? Why? True. True. So, whatever happens, I think the most important thing, a lot of things are changing. With time, a lot of things will change. When I was doing my articleship, how the way we did audit is so different from the way we are doing auditing now. So 10 years later, 15 years later, if you guys think this is the career I want to build in, we must be embracing change. We must be embracing uncertainty for sure. So with that in mind, in spite of all these things, AI, technology, whatever you name, everything is coming. If you ask me a simple question, is there anxiety? Some days, yes, there is anxiety. But can we not conquer it? We can conquer it. So what is the most important thing in this entire, with all this advent of new technology as well, the most important thing is the mindset of an auditor. And I think that's what we are talking about, right? So technically, when we talk about a lot of things, there are tools which can tell us about these technology tools, how to operate it. But what is most important is the mindset of the next-gen auditor. So will audit stay? The answer is yes. Will audit stay the same? Absolutely not. So rather than stressing about the things that are not in our control, let's look at things that are in our control. Now, how should a next-gen auditor think? What should be the mindset of a next-gen auditor? The first thing that comes to my mind is knowing the business in and out. So we cannot do an audit unless and until we don't know the business, right? So business of the, what is the business of the organization? What is the revenue model? Who are the people involved? What is the culture at the top? All these becomes extremely important. So before even starting an audit, understanding the business, understanding the dynamics of this, the industry and the business becomes extremely important. The next thing becomes like the risk-based approach. So whenever as an auditor, like have you ever felt like your mind always looks at risks, controls, your mind always, there is a risk here, there's the situation and you always think there is a risk here, there's a possibility of a problem or fraud that can happen. So this risk-based approach is why people pay us for, right? Like the technology can throw up a lot of outliers, can throw up a lot of like exceptions, but how do we really understand unless and until we don't have this mindset of identifying risk? And just like how in relationships we find red flags, in every relationship we usually look at red flags, right, before getting into a relationship. So as an auditor, that red flag approach is extremely important. So understanding like, okay, if this is a scenario which is in front of me, these are the red flags I'm actually foreseeing. This could go wrong. With time, there can be a problem in this organization. The organization can run out of business. The going concern may get affected within a few years. So knowing this becomes very important. And the next-gen auditor also needs empathy. So the empathy is a skill which not just as an auditor is what we need as a professional. We all have to be empathetic. Now when a client comes and tells us, sir, I cannot give you data. We are busy with so many deadlines. How do you respond? What do you say? Will you say, no, my boss has asked me to get this audit done by in 2 days, I want the data. How will you handle such scenarios? So empathy is what comes in there, like knowing when to give that leverage, knowing when to not give that leverage becomes extremely important. And the last thing is, how are your reports perceived? Can we write our audit reports in a way how the management reads it, in a way how the management understands it? can we deliver an audit report which is insightful, which is value additive, not from just our perspective, but from the client perspective. When a client management looks at it, they feel, wow, this is a great report. I didn't know this. This is important. So, and then they start firing people. They start calling people out. So having this perception that my report has to be looked at by people in the management, and that should be very clear. So with all this mindset is, like with all the technology and all the advent of the new age tools, will we become redundant is a question that we need to ask. And if you ask the question, like there can be a few things which can actually become redundant, but as auditors, if the mindset is true, if the mindset is right, it's in the right place, we can always and always give a lot of value addition to businesses. So having said this now, I will open the floor to the paper presenters. So we have three exciting topics. One is on the next gen internal audit. The second one is on the management audit and the connection between corporate governance and the strategy, business strategy. Third one being audit using the new age technology tools. If you look at all these three topics, all these are very current, very relevant, and this can be really insightful if, especially a few slides that are in the presentation are really, really insightful. You can make use of it right away when you go back to your office. You can actually implement these. So let's, I am actually excited to hear their presentations. So let's give them a round of applause and then have the first presenter for the internal audit, Shama Kundar, on the stage, please.
So, last week, a fraud case came to my notice when I was going through the Times of India. It wasn't just any case, it was the case that made me rethink about the essence of trust in banking industry and the role of internal auditors. Well, an NRI couple had trusted a private bank and made a savings of 7.5 crore rupees, hoping good returns. But when they were abroad, something very terrible happened. All their monies were washed out, their FDs were withdrawn, their mutual funds were encashed, and all things happened without their consent. So fake records and forged documents made this fraud possible. This fraud went on for several months, and later on, 2 employees and the branch manager of the bank was arrested in this fraud case. So the question here is, how did this fraud go unnoticed for so long? Well, here's when the role of internal auditor comes into the picture. Internal auditor's primary role is to ensure, to act as a safeguard against the fraud in the business organizations. So I have 2 questions to pose. Whenever a fraud happens in a business organization, is it a failure on part of internal auditor, or was internal auditor under the pressure of board or senior management compromising his independence? Well, stories like this highlight the crucial role of internal auditor in the business organizations. Good evening, Bengaluru. Welcome to New Age of NAVAYUGA, where the new age where the business, technology, and transformation plays a very important role. It's an age where traditional roles are being redefined, and internal auditors are no exceptions. Gone are the days when their roles were restricted to ticking boxes or verifying numbers. Today, they are the architects of trust, navigators of risk, and the strategic partners in the business organization. So before we dive into this transformational journey, let me introduce myself. I am Shama Kundar, CA finalist, fascinated by how technology and innovation are transforming the role of internal audits. So I'm very thrilled to share with you all my insights on the topic changing landscape of NAVAYUGA, the internal audit. So today together we'll all understand the evolving role an internal auditor plays in this NAVAYUGA. So during my presentation, I'll take you on a journey where I'll explain the present and future role of internal auditor. We'll discuss the key drivers for change in the role of internal auditor. We'll look into a few tools adopted by the modern internal auditor. We'll look into some challenges faced by internal auditor, followed by the conclusion. So, before we begin, let's look into this thought-provoking quote which says, "Change with the change before the change changes you." This simply means the change is constantly happening and we have to adopt to this. Especially in this new age of NAVAYUGA, the statement is more true than ever. For internal auditors, the role has changed a lot. Earlier, from just checking the major points or verifying the transactions, playing a traditional role in the internal auditor, today he is made to adopt the new policies, new technologies like AI, blockchain, and there has been a drastic change over a decade in the role of internal auditor. So let's get started to the main topic, the evolving role of internal auditor. Few decades ago, let's imagine internal auditor a decade ago. Pictureize this, they're sitting on the table, going through piles of paper, ticking boxes, checking every single transaction, which would take a long number of days, a very slow and tedious process. But fast forward to today, welcome to NAVAYUGA, where everything has changed, and simple AI can help you scan thousands of transactions in a minute. It can help you generate reports within seconds, saving a lot of time, right? Imagine a traditional auditor where he used to take days to go through the reviewing expenses and other transactions. But today, the modern auditor, with the help of AI and blockchain or data analytics, he's able to do everything within minutes, within seconds, where he can identify patterns, flag anomalies, identify suspicious entries, and report very well. Another example would be where now companies are most probably shifting to remote works. A modern traditional auditor, imagine, he would have struggled to keep track record of every single transactions happening in multiple locations. But now a modern auditor, with the use of cloud-based technologies, he can easily identify all the errors. He can easily keep track of all the records in real time. These examples highlights how the role of internal auditor has changed over a decade of time. So today in this NAVAYUGA, internal auditors are the eyes and ears of the organizations. Their role is not just restricted to being an internal auditor, but today they are playing the role of internal auditor, stat auditor, and forensic auditor as well. So we have understood that there has been a drastic change in the role of internal auditor. Let's move forward and discuss some of the key changes as to why this change has happened. Basically, there are three key drivers for the change. The first one, obviously, technological revolution, new business models coming up, and the regulatory pressure. Speaking about the technological revolution, in the past few decades, the technology has evolved a lot. Imagine, as I said, how the traditional auditor would take days to complete an audit, and how now a modern auditor, within a very small span of time, finishes a great audit. So the technology is one of the sole and main reason for this changing evolution in the internal auditors. Second one, new business models. Businesses today operate in a completely different manner. Gone are the days when they had their own traditional business ways. But today, most of them prefer remote works or digital platforms and having their own cloud-based technologies. Imagine these changes definitely bring a lot of convenience to the internal auditors. But it also comes with great challenges for the internal auditors. So internal auditors today has to ensure that he has complied with all the provisions. He has to make sure that how a new business model works. For that, he needs to come up with the new technologies, tools, and other processes. Third one, regulatory pressures. As business expands, the adherence to rules and regulations increases. They're required to comply with a number of rules. Imagine a manufacturing company which claims itself to be 100% eco-friendly today, needs to submit a carbon emission reports or maybe the ESG reporting part. So today the internal auditor, apart from performing all the traditional tasks, he has to also make sure that he is performing all the latest technologies, he is doing all the reporting part and other stuff. He has to also verify that all the data given in the reports are correct and accurate. So there has been a great change in the role of internal auditor for the past many years. So let's move forward and look into some of the real life case scenarios where the lack of internal control had led to huge losses to the business organization. The first one would be the BOB scandal. Recently in October 2023, RBI had banned a Bank of Baroda from onboarding new customers to their mobile banking. The reason? Fraud. When internal audits were performed over the 7,000 branches, it was identified that a huge amount of money was fraudulently withdrawn from customers' account through fraud. Well, how is it happening when internal auditor is there? Again, the same question comes up. Is it internal auditor's mistake or internal auditor is under the pressure of senior management or the board? So here, when the fraud was identified, the first question that came was whether the entire audit process was questioned. Later on, it was identified that the bank never had hired an independent internal auditor, but still they relied on their own employees for internal audits, and they colluded, they did the fraud, and a huge amount of money went in loss. Next one would be the IL&FS scandal, which was one of the biggest India's financial frauds, where the fraud amount was somewhere around 92,000 crores of rupees. Simple, what happened was the investigation report identified that there was inflated revenues, hidden debts, and a weak internal control, which made this fraud possible. So again, looking into all this fraud, it makes us realize or makes us think of the question, how can we even trust a system where we work with? The internal auditor, how should he connect with the business, and how should he ensure that the honesty and integrity of the system is maintained properly? Moving forward, to come up with, to face all these challenges, we have to look into the modern tools that a modern auditor should identify in order to solve the modern problems. Data analytics, blockchain, and AI. These three are being the buzzing words in today's industry. So speaking about data analytics, imagine we have, as I said, we have thousands of transactions. Data analytics helps us to track everything, identify all the patterns, help us flag anomalies, help us identify the suspicious one, help us in report making. So data analytics is indeed one of the very important tools which an internal auditor should adopt in order to face the problems that are existing in this present scenario. Second one, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence today is being used by everyone. From a third grade kid using artificial intelligence to draft an essay, to CS using artificial intelligence to drafting an audit report, AI is being used everywhere. So AI should be used as a modern tool by the internal auditor to cope up with all the problems that exist in today's world. Again, blockchain. Blockchain, as we all know, a secure and tamper-proof system where it helps us identify all the things, and it helps us to take a bare minimum time to verify transactions. Moving forward, with coming up with all these new tools and technologies, there comes the new challenges. Staying updated with the market. For the past 1 decade, we have seen a lot of change in the technology. So staying updated with the market is very important for an internal auditor to understand his present scenario so that he can cope up, he can understand the challenges, he can overcome it, and he can grab the opportunity that exists in the market. Moving forward, balancing multiple regulations. As you all know, as a business grow and expand, or as the number of fraud increases, the compliance increases. So in order to manage this, balancing multiple regulation becomes the very important part. And then cyber risk. From the day digitalization has come into the picture, cyber threats are being increasing. Every day there is new transactions coming up. Every day there is new frauds happening. So these are the three things which an internal auditor in the present age should look into so that he can grab all the exciting opportunities that exist in the market. So yeah, that's it. To wrap up, I would like to say the internal auditor's role has definitely evolved a lot from the past several years. So let's all make sure that we'll come up with all the challenges and will shape the future of internal auditing with confidence and passion. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Shama. What an insightful session. You brilliantly outlined the evaluation of internal auditors in today's world. Let's give a huge round of applause.
Our next presenter is Shreya Rai, who will be discussing the role of management audit in corporate governance and strategic planning.
Shreya, the stage is all yours.
Namaskara Bengaluru. Ellarku Swagata. I am Shreya Rai, a CA final student doing my industrial training at Toyota Financial Services in Bengaluru. And it is an absolute pleasure to be standing right here in the heart of innovation and culture at NAVAYUGA to present a topic that guides successful organization, which is role of management audit in corporate governance and strategic planning. To begin with, let me ask you all something. what comes to your mind when you mix the words IPL, hopes, and unpredictable management? Yeah, obviously it is them. So now think of this. Last year, RCB had a star-studded lineup with Virat Kohli, Glenn Maxwell, and Faf du Plessis. Yet, just like every other season, we were left saying, "Isala Cup namde," right? And whereas teams like MI with structured management, they have they have backed 5 IPL trophies. Now let me shift from cricket to companies. Say there were 2 companies, Alpha Innovations, which was like MI, and Beta Enterprises, which was like our RCB. So Alpha Innovations was thriving with happy customers and satisfied clients, whereas Beta Enterprises, despite having similar resources, faced difficulties and stakeholder frustration. So that brings us to the heart of today's topic, that is management audit. So management audit is an independent and systematic evaluation of how well the management is doing its job, whether they are performing according to the set standards, and it is often conducted by the stakeholders. So let's see the scope and objectives. So basically, they do efficiency evaluation, they check for policy implementation at all the levels, they do a variance detection, and they also give improved suggestions. Now let me take a real-life example to explain more. Say Toyota follows Kaizen and Jidoka, which basically means continuous improvement and automation with a human touch. So these are deeply rooted in Toyota's management that makes them to do continuous innovation every time. Now, how many of you think that audits are just about numbers? So let me give you a difference between management and statutory audit. So management audit evaluates efficiency of the management practices, whereas statutory audit provides an independent opinion on accuracy of financial statements. Management audit is conducted as it is required by the board or TCWG, whereas statutory audit is conducted annually as required by the law. Management audit is improvement oriented, whereas statutory audit is compliance oriented. Now, let's see some of the types of management audit, its focus, and circumstances that can give rise. Say for compliance audit focuses on adherence to laws and regulations, and the circumstances can be regulatory changes or potential compliance breaches. HR audit focus on workforce policies or employee satisfaction, whereas the satisfaction or the circumstances can be low employee engagement or high rate of attrition. Now, environmental audit focuses on sustainability and environmental compliance. And the circumstances can be any regulatory breaches for the same. Technology audit focuses on IT systems and cybersecurity, and whereas the circumstances can be cyber threats or outdated technology infrastructure. Revenue audit focuses on accuracy and completeness of revenue generation processes, whereas the circumstances could be unexplained revenue fluctuations or misreporting of any kind of income. Now, what is the backbone of any ethical business? It's corporate governance. It ensures that organizations are ethical, transparent, and accountable. So it includes board, management, TCWG, audit committee, employees, stakeholders, etc. Now, let's see how do management audits strengthen governance. So they check for internal controls, whether they are robust enough to prevent frauds. They check for policy effectiveness, whether it is implemented as intended. They check for board performance, whether the board is functioning optimally. Now let's take up a famous case study of a failed corporate governance. Byju's was one of the India's largest edtech company and was faced with poor corporate governance, delayed financial reporting, and inefficiency. So let's see the corporate governance issues faced by Byju's. So there was a delay in financial reporting of financial year 2021 by about 18 months. Questions were raised on board's ability, and inadequate communication with key stakeholders was stated in the reports. So how management audits could have addressed these concerns? It could have flagged delays in reporting and identified gaps in internal controls. It could have evaluated the feasibility and alignment of acquisition with long-term goals. It could have highlighted the need for stronger frameworks. And it could have also identified morale issues and inefficiencies in HR policies. Now, next topic is strategic planning, which is like the roadmap for a company's success. So now, let's see the SWOT analysis of strategic planning and management audit for sustainable growth. Say, strategic planning identifies the core competencies, while management audit ensures that they're aligned with the goals. Audits detect internal inefficiencies, enabling strategic plans to improve them. And then strategic planning leverages market opportunities, while audit assesses the readiness and risk management for the same. Management audits also identify the external and internal risks, ensuring that any kind of compliance issues are not faced by the company. Now, what is the recent trend? It's technology, AI, blockchain, right? So let's see the innovative trends in management audit. So for technology integration, AI in data analytics use predictive insights and improves accuracy. For example, TCS use AI-driven tools to see their operations and find any kind of anomalies. Sustainability and ESG. These are crucial to attract investors. So Adani Group commits to ESG principles in aligning with global trends. Real-time audits. Cloud-based systems offer real-time monitoring and updation of data as and when it is required from anywhere around the world. Now, chartered accountants are the superheroes of the corporate world. So let's see their role in management audit. They analyze data of company for strategic alignment. They give compliance and risk factors of company. They basically look into it. And they give actionable insights to companies during mergers and acquisitions, etc. Now, every rose has its thorns, and audits are not exception for it. So let's see the challenges faced during management audit. So management might fear that their inefficiencies might come out, so they resist to any kind of changes. Auditors and AI tools are like premium ingredients that can be costly. And also, audits sometimes feel like reality TV show, where opportunities and biases can be there. Now, let me give you quick recommendations for effective audits. So, adopt to globally recognized frameworks like COSO and ISO standards, strengthen the audit committee, and give continuous training to auditors. Now, let's talk about what happened with RCB last year, okay? Their strategies were failing. They had like 1% chance to qualify for the playoffs, right? And then what happened?
Bang, it's up in the air. This should be taken. Takes it this time. And the RCB fans are on their feet. This is a massive blow. It was in the slot. And Dhoni knows it.
25 off 13, but...
RCB fans, make some noise. Okay. So, yes. So, what happened at that particular moment? Maybe this was the magic of the strategy. So, this shows how well the management audit helps in perfect strategic planning and corporate governance. And can we finally say Salakap Namdu? What is Namdu then? What is Namdu? Okay, with that, I would like to wrap up my session. I would extend my gratitude to Bengaluru Sikasa Committee for giving me this opportunity, my session chairman, CA.Naveen sir, and my lovely co-presenters, all the respected dignitaries on and off the stage, and the lovely audience. Thank you all.
Thank you, Shreya, for that concise and impactful presentation. Let's give her another round of applause for Shreya.
And now to wrap up this segment, we have Subiksha, who will be presenting on audit using new age technology tools.
Subiksha, the spotlight is yours. Let's hear it for her.
It was a very long day, wasn't it? Yes? Do you want to listen to some songs? Well, I'm lazy to play it from my phone. I have a friend to do this. Let's do it.
Sure thing, sweetheart. Here's some music to calm you down.
Thanks, Alexa. That was some music that calmed me down. Well, it was a very tiring day for me. It was a long day of audit, and I'm so tired looking at the numbers. Can we do something about it? Like, what are the ways that I can do this audit more easier?
Well, are audits so difficult? I thought with technology in the current world, audits would be completed in no time.
Well, are there tools that can make my work a little easier?
Yes, of course. I have a presentation that happened in ECA Students Conference, Bangalore, on how technology can be used in audits. Show sunshine.
Well, can you please take me there? And yes, here we are. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Suviksha, and I'm here to present the topic on new age technology tools. So I'm pretty sure all of us would have experienced this, where we have long days of audit, and then at the end of that day, we would have no energy to do any other work, right? But what if I told you, just like Alexa help me play a song, there are also tools that can help make our audits much easier. Now imagine it's 12 p.m. in the afternoon, and you're so done doing all the audits, and your manager comes up to you and asks you to perform analytics, giving you huge Excels. This, and what we end up giving him is this. Right? We always tend to figure out formulas and shortcuts, and often end up having VLOOKUP errors like these. But what if I told you the analytics that we do in all of these Excels can be made easier using a tool called Power BI? This is the dashboard that we can prepare such data visualization with. Now, Power BI is a very common tool that all of us know. It is a data visualization tool that we all have been using. But how can this be used in audit is what we're going to see today. Now, we as auditors collect, analyze, and visual data from multiple sources, like we have our sales register, purchase register, and whatnot. Doing all charts, pie charts, and analysis from those is really very difficult. And this is where Power BI can help you optimize your work and reduce the time taken to analyze the trends in all of those. And it also helps in risk assessment. For example, when I say revenue, it is always an area which has a high risk, right? We always assume there is a presumed fraud risk in revenue. Now, to do a customer-wise analysis, product-wise analysis, or a sales employee-wise analysis, it takes us at least 2 days to prepare all those graphs and charts, and formatting is an issue always, right? But Power BI, you can convert that data into such Excels like these, where you have multiple graphs at the same point in time, and you can analyze multiple parameters in one screen itself. Now, this is an example where I say there are multiple entities. If you see the graph below where there is a bar chart, there is Infusion Labs, there is Vayug Tech, and all those multiple entities. And if I want to analyze each and every one of them one by one, it will take me years together, right? Through a normal Excel. But with Power BI, what it does is that I can just click on one bar graph, and it will show me the numbers of one particular entity itself. For example, if I say Infusion Labs and I just click on that, it will just go to one equity and give me all those numbers. So that is how user-friendly Power BI is for us. And I'm very sure all of us would have somehow listened to Power BI workshops or ads being conducted. But then it's not very necessary that we always take up these workshops, but then we can actually go and try it. It's very user-friendly that way. Now, before I move on to the next tool, I'm very sure one of the most important audit procedures that we all have done is GL dump analysis. How many of us have done that? General ledger analysis? Yeah? Those huge Excels which, whenever we try to do something new, just crashes, right? Just like our life. So, but there is a tool that can be optimized through which we can optimize GL analysis as well, and that is MindBridge. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you wouldn't have heard about these, but we have heard about tools called Caseware Idea and also ACL, right? These are tools that we have used in most of our audits, and we use them for statistical sampling and all of this. But MindBridge AI, what does it do is that it will analyze your transaction, the whole dump, and it will find anomalies from there. And it will test 100% of the population, right? We no longer have to rely on the samples that we pick. It will identify duplicates, outliers, and risky transactions. Now, this is a tool that is adopted by KPMG, and this is a testimonial by the KPMG head of audit innovation, where they say our alliance with MindBridge is expected to optimize their audit platform called Clara. Now, how does this actually look? So if you see in this particular slide, there is general ledger, and there are high monetary value items, complex instruments, outlier anomalies, and all that. And all this will be deducted once just you run through your whole GL dump in MindBridge itself. Now, again, this is a licensed software, and mostly we won't be able to try it out right now, like in a free version. This is a licensed software, and if you are wishing to use this, you can go back to your principals and say that you can use this and probably gain a reimbursement from them. So, another important task, the third tool that I'm going to introduce to you is Data Snipper. Now, how many of us have done vouching invoices? The task that we love to do, right? Those stack of invoices where we just record the serial numbers, the date and everything. But there is a tool through which we can optimize this particular vouching as well. Now, this is a tool that I have used in my audits personally. Now, what it does is that it integrates with Excel, and then it has a snip feature, just like a screenshot feature that we use. So what happens in that is when you have to vouch an invoice, you just go to that invoice, you just click on that snip. Let me just show you. So here is invoice for that matter. So if you have to record the voucher number, you just have to snip that 1040 and you have to link it to that Excel. Now, if you just do this for one document, it will just replicate that for other documents as well and give you the full data. That is how Data Snipper works. Now, if you just look at how this can be used, now many firms like Grant Thornton Video and all of them use it currently, and it is just proven that 70% of their audit work is reduced through Data Snipper. And there is also a feature called Advanced Financial Suite, which is used in casting and footing. Now, moving on, let me just take you to another important aspect of audit, the client pending list. We have all fought with our clients to give data, right? It is one of the most important aspects. But now with AI, we can automate this too and tell that there are priorities in my pending list that I have to obtain on a priority basis. And there are some that you can give later as well, right? Like Sir said, being empathetic to the client is also very important. But getting our work done also comes to the first place. So for that, we have a tool called Uplink by Data Snipper. Now what this does is that it will ask specific questions to the data that is already uploaded, and you can receive answers for those, right? So again, it will help you optimize your pending list from client, and you no longer have to fight with them for the list. Just for the reimbursements, probably you have to fight with them. Now, agreement summarizations, right? Do we all love agreement summarizations? Yes? Yes, no, yes. Yes? Oh, okay. Then this is not for you, maybe. So I personally don't like agreement summarizations because whenever I do an agreement summarization, I go to my manager and tell, this is what I have done. They just ask me to open the original document. I mean, what is the point of me doing it anyways? So, but there is a tool, and this is not just a normal tool, right? This doesn't just summarize your agreements, but When you ask questions to the agreement, it will give you answers. The agreement will give you answers. And that tool is Document. Now, maybe you won't believe me when I tell that you can ask questions to the agreement and it will answer you back. So here's a short video. So that is one of my favorite tools as well. Now, coming to why we have learned all of these tools. Just because it's part of the agenda for today? No, right? So we use all of these tools in our daily audits. We can improve and you can bring efficiency in the audits that we perform. So data visualization is one of the key components in that, and where it brings real-time analysis, helps you in trend analysis, fraud reduction, risk assessment. And MindBridge AI that we saw helps you bring accuracy in the audits that we perform, like journal entry testing, and if there is any irregular pattern in transactions. And third is what we talked about, data snipper, where it brings you efficiency in the sense where you can automate all the repetitive tasks. Now, going forward down the years, in 5 years or 10 years, there are technologies beyond these that can be used, and one of them is natural language processing. Now, natural language processing is a tool which will help you analyzing transactions. It will have a pattern that will help you study, the words and text that are used in a mail and help you find if there are any irregular patterns. The second one is network visualizations, where it will connect multiple entities and nodes that are there in a system and help you identify outliers, if any. And Internet of Things, just like we have Alexa in our homes that are connected to our smart TVs and ACs and everything, we can also have IoT connected to our audit devices, which will help optimize our audits. As auditors, we know that change is the only constant, and any change for that matter does not come without challenges. The challenge, particularly with using technology in audit, is that there are concerns with data privacy, there are concerns with regulatory compliance, and also there are ethical considerations that we also always have to look into. But while this may be intimidating for us as emerging auditors to adopt to all these tools, remember, if we were able to remember all the tax amendments, we can also remember and adopt to new technology, because change is the only constant. Thank you.
Incredible presentation, Shubiksha. You've given us a glimpse into the future of auditing. Let's give her a huge round of applause.
Wow, what a line of fantastic presentation. Each one brought something unique to the table. Let's give another round of applause to all the presenters.
Requesting our session chairman, Naveen sir, to take over the stage.
A lot of efforts goes into these presentations. So one more round of applause for all the three presenters who have done an incredible job. I don't feel all of you guys are CA students. I feel you are already chartered accountants. That's the mindset with which you will have to start. And having such presentations are really a good sight to see. Thank you so much once again. So after a full day of slides, show, presentations, I will not be doing justice I told you I started my presentation saying I was a student before. So I will always empathize with you guys. I'll not take too much time again. I have just 2 slides to summarize and give you the takeaways from this session. And I'll make it easier for you. The first takeaway is on the new age internal auditor. So Now, what we have been experiencing with a lot of our clients is clients start looking at us as not as auditors, but they talk to us as consultants, business consultants. So they share their problems, they ask solutions right in a meeting. So they don't look at us as like, okay, these are the internal auditors, I need to hide things from them, this will come in a report. Clients want solutions. They discuss about business opportunities, they discuss about mergers, acquisition, they think about the exit strategy, they talk to us. So now as internal auditors, the role has already changed. So there is nothing like, I'm not telling you that things will change with time, things have already changed. We need to be positioning ourselves as business consultants rather than internal auditors, because who has so much of data about the company? The promoters themselves will not be knowing so much of data about the company, right? We as internal auditors will be knowing so much about the company. So our role has already transitioned into being a business consultant. The next thing that every meeting client tells me is, Naveen, don't tell me what I already know. Tell me what I don't know. So clients don't want something like, let's say there is a PT non-compliance. Clients say, I already know. I'm the one who is making the payment. Why are you telling me this? Tell me bigger things. Tell me bigger problems. Tell me bigger threats. What can immediately stop my business in the next 6 months? What is a cyber security risk that I have? Is there a malware attack risk that I have as an organization? Clients want us to tell things that they don't know. So this is what we have been seeing in a lot of meetings, right? The next thing is, what are the current risks and potential risks? As internal auditors, we always see like what are the current risks and then the suggestions to take it forward. But the expectation is that we need to say how ready as an organization are you to counter the potential risks. So we need to say, currently this is not there, but this will come in next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. You will definitely have a problem. There is a competitor who is already doing all these things. Your strategies are failing. And with this in mind, next 6 months, 1 year, there can be a going concern risk. So this is the level of expectation that clients have. And as internal auditors, I think we need to transition there. So this is the crime analogy that I want to tell. Whenever you're starting an audit, let's say an internal audit, always look at these 5 aspects. Crime, C-R-I-M-E. It starts with control activity. What is the process in place in the organization? What is the risk assessment strategy that the client has? That is the R. Do they have an internal audit function? Do they have an in-house function, outsourced function? Is it working effectively? What is the information systems that the client has? Let's say a client is a very big multinational and still using a very primitive software. So that is coming from the information side. Monitoring, do they have a monitoring mechanism? You keep giving reports every 6 months, and every 6 months the same answer comes like, we will take care of it, we'll take care of it. So do they have a monitoring system? And lastly, the control environment, which is the tone at the top. Who are the people in the board? Who are the people in the audit committee? Who are the people in the management? Are they somebody who is walking the talk? Are they someone who is building the culture of compliance, culture of governance, culture of the GRC is what we call governance, risk reporting, and then the compliance. Do they have focus on the GRC is what you need to look at. So every audit, internal audit, if you start with these 5 principles, I think a lot of work is already done there. And whenever you identify patterns, using data analysis, scenarios, and doing a fraud detection. We had a client who came up to us and told, Naveen, there is a pattern that we are seeing. There is a hike in a particular, like let's say, analysis that we did, but we don't know what it is. Can you go in deeper and then look at it? When we went into, like let's say, dig deeper and then understood what these patterns are, then we built out a scenario. There was a possibility of a fraud that was happening already. And then we built a scenario. We built 2-3 scenarios. And then we started testing the hypothesis with that scenario. And then with that, our team was able to uncover a major fraud in the organization. So fraud detection is a collaborative activity, but the clients expect us to do a lot more with respect to fraud detection. So this is on the new age internal auditor. Now from a management audit for corporate governance corporate governance is no longer a luxury or a badge that you can say, I have corporate governance in my organization. It has become a necessity now. It is no longer a thing that you can tell in the annual report saying, we have a great board of directors, audit committee, we have all these things in place. It has become a necessity now. And I read this somewhere, like the biggest change that can happen is startups adopting corporate governance and MNCs adopting agility. Because if you look at it, startups will always have issues with corporate governance. MNCs will always have red tapeism, like it takes a lot of time for approvals. So if they start becoming agile in the way they work, that will be the biggest progress towards organizations. And management audits do uncover a lot of aspects as they go deeper. So it is more of a value additive activity. It is not done because there is a need for a compliance audit that is needed. It is done because management is interested in those audits. So management audits, when it is undertaken, like let's say if you are a part of a management audit, know that the people who have appointed you are doing it also with a clear intention. And that intention is for you to uncover a few things. And new age technology tools, I think there is nothing that has been left to be spoken about, like all these softwares, audit softwares, which were earlier adopted only by the big ones, are now a must-have for any audit, right? Like even if it's a small 5 crore, 10 crore audit, there are so many regulations in place, so many templates that as an auditor you need to be aware of. Let's say independence confirmation, the regulations, standards on auditing. How will you actually keep track of it without having a software? So this becomes a must-have. And before beginning an audit, beginning an audit will have to be with an exception report and an outlier. So you need to start the audit only by looking at the exception report, outliers, analyze, and then conclude your report. And audits with time will not be people heavy. I think this is a prediction which most of them have. Like the current team size of an audit will definitely decline because the requirement of time will also reduce. And AI tools will simplify work. So there are a lot of tools that Subiksha has already spoken about. There are few other tools that can be used for minutes of meeting. Like let's say, if in case you're talking to a client and then you want to summarize everything without making a note of it in a book, there is a tool called otter.ai that can be used. And then, like let's say if you're working on an ICFR engagement and then you have the narratives ready, but you want to bring it in a flowchart format, then there is a tool called napkin.ai. So multiple such tools are there, but it's in an evolving phase. You need to give it a try and then test it and then adopt it with time. I think my next speaker also will be talking more about this. Now, the last part, the last slide. Now, whatever I have spoken about or my team has spoken about, if there is nothing that you have heard and you have slept through this session, and now you're waking up and this is the last slide you want to see, I think you can look at this last slide because this is coming more from not as a presenter. I'm talking to you this more from a student who has turned into a professional, aiming that you guys will be the professionals in the future. So if there are 6 or 7 things that I want to tell you, and this will be the actionables from this session, please take it. The first thing is, in every engagement, please start with business understanding. Like let's say just think about yourself as chartered accountants. We get so much insights about the business that no other professional will have. Let's say even a founder will not have so much information about his own company. From an operation side, yes. From a finance side, no. So, but any other profession, if you look at it, we are so blessed with so much of information dump. Just start looking at how many businesses that you can analyze, how many businesses, revenue models that you can look at, and then be genuinely curious about these revenue models. How will this company make profit? What if, like let's say this is a husband and wife firm. What if there is a divorce? What will happen? So start thinking about a lot of questions and then, like let's say, think about whether this business can sustain. Who knows, this can actually help you in your entrepreneurial journey later. So I feel blessed because like day in and day out, we talk to people and then we understand their business, we understand their challenges. Who will actually tell this and also pay you for this, right? So understand and then discuss and deliberate about businesses. And before starting any work, like I'm telling this, though I'm not from the same firm, before starting any work, be it the partner telling or the manager telling, always start with why. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing bank reconciliation statement when there is no fund? There is all fund transfers. There is no check given. Why am I asked to do bank reconciliation statement? Why am I asked to send this confirmation? Where is it written? Start asking these questions. Don't do anything without asking why, because as organizations, we will get the work done, we will close the engagement and move on, but your knowledge, you will always be stuck there. Next time, 3-4 years later, when an intern comes and asks you, sir, why am I doing bank reconciliation when there is no checks? You will not have answer, right? So you will say, my senior told me this, you will have to do this. So start with why always. I think this will always help. And the mindset with which you will have to work will have to be like, how can I give value addition? I'm an article trainee, my stipend is 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. How can I give a value of 10x, like 1 lakh? Like, am I giving value? Like, let's say the mindset of being a giver first and then a receiver will eventually lead to a lot of betterment in your profession. You might remember this line some years later, that being a giver first and then the receiver will add a lot of value to your life. Know the bigger picture of your work. If you're just doing one income tax return, one small part of it, just a corporate return, a small part of it, know that how your work added up to the bigger part. Let's say if you're working on procurement function in an internal audit and the final report is given, you're moved to a different team now. You're not even part of that audit team now for this quarter. Know how did your observation get communicated in the report. Because as I always say, as organizations, we'll close the engagement, we'll bill, but what is your value addition is, how did my work benefit the bigger picture? What did I do that actually bought into how did it get closed in the end? That becomes extremely important. And the favorite thing that I tell is ask feedback after every engagement, after every 1 year of your articleship, 6 months of your articleship, or let's say when you're leaving, ask feedback, constantly ask feedbacks, and with a genuine intention of taking care of that feedback, genuine intention of addressing that feedback, not with an intention that I will ask you a feedback, but you will have to tell me only good things. So that won't work, right? So ask feedback whenever it's possible, and timely feedbacks after every engagement. I think the last thing is on the networking. Build genuine connections. I think this is an event where you can really build genuine connections. So this will go a long way. I wish somebody had told me 10 years before, Naveen, start building genuine relationships. Networking is the key. Now I'm telling this because this is very, very important. You don't know the person sitting next to you, how will that person be able to add value to your career later, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years later, right? So with this, I'm ending my session and our session. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the patience. I hope after this session, even if there is a small interest in the field of audit, in the field of becoming a good professional, I will be genuinely happy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's take a moment to thank the driving force behind this enriching session, our session chairperson, CA.Naveen sir.
Sir, your guidance and expertise have added so much depth to today's discussions. Your insights have left us all inspired and motivated. Let's give him a huge round of applause, everybody.
We request MC member of CASA Bengaluru, Tarun, to give vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our session chairman, CA.Naveen sir, and also our speakers, Subiksha A., Shreya Rai, and Shama Kundir, for their insightful and informative presentations today. Your valuable perspectives on AI-related audit topics were really useful to all of us. Thank you for your time, effort, and contribution. We greatly appreciate your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarun.
Now we move to the next part of our program, the token of gratitude. We'd like to take a moment of honor to our esteemed guest and the speaker of chairman's, requesting our chairman, CASA Bengaluru, Shripad sir, to give the token of gratitude to CA.Naveen. Sir. Can we please display this QR code? Guys, the voting lines have been opened. Please cast your votes. And CA Naveen sir. Thank you, Naveen sir.